I don't know if you ever heard of the Energizer bunny before, but today's episode is going to remind you a little bit of that, but only with a little bit of a twist, like the Energizer bunny with joy. Welcome to the Midweek Motivation Podcast, where we bring practical help for your faith and life. Here's today's episode. That's who I'm with today. My name is Gabe Kolstad. I'm the lead pastor of Westside Community Church, and I'm with Bart Hafeman. How you doing, Bart?
Great.
Good. Bart's awesome. The worship leader at Westside, and you've been with us for over 3 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was August of 2021.
Yeah.
So, and it's been awesome.
It has been so much fun.
Yeah.
It feels like we're a little bit riding a rocket, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And some neat stuff is happening.
Yeah.
And I really think that a lot of that is, how do we present ourselves as followers of Jesus? And when there is what you have, which is this kind of irrepressible joy, I guess I would call it, it makes it so much fun because it's pretty contagious.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk a little bit about how do you get that? Why do you have that? Like if I was to say to you, Bart, you're the Energizer bunny of joy. Why?
It's a big question, but I don't know. It's really funny because my first tattoo was this little Energizer thing right here. It's
a lightning bolt. Yeah.
So, and I always thought I have this thing that runs in me that I always want to increase my capacity throughout the day. I want to do more things during the day, do more things, get this done. If I can just do 2 more things or something like that. But at the same time, running with that, I have this conflicting thing or this thing that runs alongside it. What good is it if I'm increasing my capacity, but I don't have joy?
Yeah.
If I'm not happy about it, if I'm doing extra stuff, is it stressing me out, or is it causing me to behave negatively because I should have been done before the last 2 things? So as I increase my capacity, I also want to increase my joy, which goes along with it, because to me, it's the process of what you do something in, like our worship team process. It's got to be filled with joy.
Yeah.
It just does.
When it sure pours out, when we look at the team on Sundays, it pours out of everybody. It's so much fun.
And that's one of the things we work on, because I know they all have it.
Yeah.
But not everybody is comfortable in expressing that joy, especially when you're in front of a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And so I think I learned that skill through my band Hit Machine.
Yeah.
Early on. I used to literally write out what I would say in between songs for transitions. And I just felt like it wasn't very genuine in the moment. And although I'd practice it, when I did it, it would be that came off a little weird.
Yeah.
And so I started taking these little, I guess you'd call them risks, and moment risks where I'd say something that was unscripted, and I'd put myself out there, and I'd see how people responded, and I'd feel that it was okay. And I'd get the, the reassurance that that the world's not going to fall apart if I'm me in that moment. And I found out being me in that moment does connect me in a certain way to that joy. I feel more free, I guess maybe more authentic to the moment. And I think that's always been a secret success in the Hit Machine factor is that joy.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to press into that because you do a number of things. In fact, one thing that's unique about our Westside staff team is that most of us are juggling multiple things that we're doing, not just working at Westside Community Church, right?
Yeah.
So that adds an extra pressure, which can be something that you have to battle your joy about, because it's more things going on in your head and in your life, and it brings pressure and stuff. But I want to press into what you said about taking risks and about sharing the joy. And, I think you and I kind of have a similar style of reading a crowd and then responding. And there is something to that, it's wonderful when you go, okay, it's a safe place and I can be myself. We are coming off a weekend where we talked about my joy is my job.
Right.
And Paul the Apostle said, always rejoice. I mean, he said, in every circumstance, rejoice. And, he said that from a prison cell, chained to a Roman guard, literally. Had the privilege one time of going to St. Paul's in Rome and seeing the actual chain that was on his wrist, holding him to a Roman guard. It was real. He really was in prison when he said, in every circumstance, rejoice. And so I really feel like you're a great example of that. One of the things that was interesting on Sunday, as we were talking about this for 3 services at Westside, was after each service, I had a lot of people coming to me saying, I really struggle with what you're talking about, because we were talking about owning your emotions. Right. And what was weird, well, not weird, but what was very interesting was that most of those people were men. Mm-hmm. They're coming to me saying, what you said today really spoke to me, but it was more like, I don't know what to do with what's going on inside my heart right now, right. And maybe was almost a little bit of a fear that I'm not comfortable with these emotions, right? So as we kind of talk around the whole idea of joy and maintaining joy in every circumstance, I want to press into that vulnerability that you mentioned a little bit ago. Tell us about what gives you courage to approach your own emotions, and how do you manage your own joy?
Yeah. As far as vulnerability, I always have believed that there's strength in that. Mm-hmm. And there's strength in being authentic in the moment and connected to that moment. And I think a lot of that involves taking a risk. It's certainly, if you can't take the risk, it can be linked to a lack of security, maybe a little bit of insecurity about what's going to happen next.
Yeah,
you don't know if I say this, or if I act like this, or if I reveal this, mm-hmm. what's going to happen. I'd like to say I've made it to the point in my life where I'm genuinely excited about not knowing what's going to happen.
Really?
I think you kind of can kind of see that sometimes.
Yeah.
I like to...
Scares everybody. No, I'm just kidding.
It can probably it can scare people. I've had band members, we don't plan what song we're going to do next. Mm-hmm. And they'll talk behind the scenes.
At Hit Machine, right?
Hit Machine.
Yeah.
Some guys, band members, will talk between each other. Like the new guy will say, how does this work? How does it keep always working? Mm-hmm. The guy's just like, just go with the flow. We just follow his lead, and he's got some signs he does for whatever song he wants to do next, and he usually calls it during the song that we're currently singing.
Really?
And, yeah.
So you read do some crowd. Baseball sign or something, and they're reading your mind or reading your body language, or reading like an actual sign?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I've got hand signals. I've got, if I want to do a Michael Jackson song, I'll look right at the drummer. I'll do a certain dance move. Okay. He'll know we're doing the Michael Jackson song next. If I want to do, say, Kiss by Prince, I'll look at the drummer. I'll just go. Sometimes the drummer wasn't prepared for that. He's new, and he's like, what are you doing? And so they learned all my little signals and stuff like that. But I like to genuinely kind of feel the moment, mm-hmm. and see where it's going to, and kind of be a part of it. I think that's really, really exciting. And I think that in general, I'd say, in the beginning, when I used to write out everything I would say in between songs, mm-hmm. I think that was probably from a little bit of a spot of insecurity, a place of not knowing, mm-hmm. Also a place of wanting to put on your best face, but you're not really sure how to do it yet.
Yeah.
What is okay to say? What is not okay to say? Mm-hmm. But as you go along, bit by bit, putting yourself out there and having little successes, and realizing that the sky's not going to fall and everything's really going to be okay. And you might just get that deeper connection that you're looking for, mm-hmm. from somebody, or, a conversation. You might learn something that you wouldn't have learned about somebody before, because I think vulnerability is, what's the right word? It's a trade-off. It's reciprocative,
Yeah,
whatever they call
reciprocal.
it. Reciprocal, yeah. It's a trade-off. And if you go there, it creates room and it creates space for somebody else to go there.
Yeah. How do you think that, I mean, like I'm picturing the average person listening right now. Let's say they're at the gym and they just are on a lunch break from work and they've got, all these pressures. How do you think that sort of vulnerability relates with joy for you? Like, how does that bring you more joy when you get to be your real self?
You mean like if I'm at the gym or something like that?
No, I'm just saying, like for you, I'm just trying to picture a person in their, they're in their zone today and they're listening, and we want them to click into the kind. We want your Energizer bunniness to wear off on them.
Oh,
When you think about vulnerability, how does that help you have more joy?
I think it's through authenticity. I really do. And when I first came back performing out of COVID,
Yeah.
I really, really felt the need. And I've always known that Hit Machines, a lot of its success was linked to the fruits of the Spirit.
Mm.
And in Galatians, Paul was saying love, joy, patience, kindness, self-control, gentleness, all those different things. And those are the things that I think that those are evidence of like God and the Holy Spirit in our life pouring out. And I think every circumstance I'm in, I challenge myself to live through that. And I don't make it some overarching thing where I'm constantly critiquing myself. I'm like looking at situations that come up in my life spontaneously. I'm like, okay, I've got my natural response, which is probably everybody's natural response. And sometimes it can be out of stress. It can be out of, anger. It can be out of whatever. But the cool thing is I get to choose my response. I can choose a response here. And what kind of a response would Christ choose in this? And is this over my capacity for what I can handle today and still be joyful? Or does this fit in with God's plan? Because God knows what's going to happen to me, man. My response, I feel like I have, a deep desire to be joyful in all circumstances.
Yeah.
It's just...
well, you had, you kind of just cracked the door for me to bring up what happened over the weekend.
Yeah.
with a couple of mishaps, right? And they really could have, well, they did challenge this, but you were able to kind of maintain joy. Do you want to talk about that for a sec? What happened? Hey, just jumping in right in the middle of this podcast episode to tell you about a resource that you need in your life. If you feel ever stuck in your faith, or if you feel like, I want to grow my faith, but I just don't quite know what the steps are, we got a resource for you called Sticky Faith in a Slippery World. I mean, this world is changing and it's crazy, and we all need something firm to stand on. And I wrote a book for you called Sticky Faith in a Slippery World. You can get your copy right now at the link in the description.
It was kind of crazy. So coming off of a show Saturday night, I show up and sometimes I've only got 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Doing the rehearsal, then going into 3 services, and then sticking around for Dream Team, which is at 4.
So we had a like volunteer training thing.
Yeah, so it was kind of a full day already.
Yeah.
I had lent my box truck. Well, I'd gotten home like really, really late or really early Sunday morning, emptying my box truck so I could let a worship team singer use the box truck to move. And so emptied that. I got it all ready, and a church guy at the church came and grabbed it, and everybody kind of helped her move. But my only thing was, just return it and leave it unlocked and put the key in a certain spot.
Yeah.
And after the whole thing was done, the church day was over, I go out and I'm feeling successful. I'm grabbing my gear. I'm walking out to the box truck, going to get in, crank the heat because I like to drive when it's just hot, and I'm looking forward to my moment. I get there and it's locked.
Oh, no.
And I'm just like,
End of the day.
let me try the other door. So I walk around to the other door. It's locked too. And I'm thinking, this is highly unusual.
Mm-hmm.
Because the guy I'd given instructions to, it's just highly unlikely that he would lock the keys in the car.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about it. I'm thinking, if it's highly unlikely, out of he'd be the last guy that I would think would lock the keys in the car. That's interesting. And at the same time, it's happening after, this long day.
Like you're exhausted.
And a little bit of sleep and probably not much food in my system. And everything was lining up for me to have a bad attitude about something. And in that moment, I was like, so I called him, talked to him. I said, hey, did you happen to leave the keys maybe in the back of the box?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Because he's, no, I put them right where you asked me to put them. I said, it's locked. He's like, oh no, are you really? And I'm like, yeah, it's locked. It might've been, just by instinct or something like that. I said, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out. I've got insurance. We can get people over here and such. I went, started working on the insurance thing. That was an uphill battle at that Sunday night,
Yeah.
not getting very far. And finally I get my insurance guy on the phone and he said, just get anybody you can and, I'll reimburse you. But, and it all turned out okay. But I stuck around at church for probably another 2 hours.
Wow.
And I had a 2-hour window of opportunity to lose my joy.
So what trigger or what work or what focus do you lean into in times like that? Because it's not that different from somebody like hitting their thumb with a hammer, and they're trying to do some work around the house. Or there's always those things, right?
Yeah.
But it's not just that you have a choice, but how do you activate that choice in those moments?
I think about the paths I can take.
Okay.
And what those outcomes could be. It's almost like choose your adventure story.
Wow, that's
it's like, if I choose this, this is going to be this.
Yeah.
And
so you're pre-thinking the outcome.
Yeah.
Kind of going down that path.
Pre-thinking the outcome a little bit. And is that the outcome I want to have in my life? Do I want to be known for that outcome?
That's a good question, isn't it?
And I also have to realize that, even if I call Bettina right now, who I know is my wife, Bettina, who's like really, really tired. She was as tired as I was to come get me. And maybe we deal with the car tomorrow. And she's too wiped out to risk that. I still have to have, grace with that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And just stick to plan A rather than go to plan B. And so I had an opportunity with the guy who locked the keys in the car and with Bettina, who said it's best to just, stick with that plan because she didn't trust herself driving back. She's like, I'm just too tired because we live a half an hour away, 35 minutes away from the church. So yeah, given that my options were narrowing in on me, I saw the path that I had to take and I just chose to be gracious with everybody and to choose joy. And even then, today, when I needed my microphone, I thought that maybe I had not loaded my microphone in the back of that box truck and I had left it because I couldn't find it.
Yeah, which is like not a cheap setup.
It's like a lot of money and a lot of time and effort and energy. And I was starting to think negatively again. I'm like, you make a move to help somebody out and then
which is exactly what the enemy would do, right?
Yeah.
See, it doesn't pay off to help people.
Yeah.
You should have never done. He's always going to plant those seeds, right?
And I talked to Bettina about that today, and I said, you know what? We're called to help, in spite of the outcome,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't know what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah.
We're still called to help in those circumstances. And the outcome might be to work on us in some way.
Mm.
I mean, that might be part of
but
the
I don't
process.
like that. I don't like that.
Right? It's an uncomfortable place to be. Yeah. So
That's awesome. So what I hear you saying is there's like an inner process that you've crafted probably over time. God has worked in you through probably more pain like that or more discomfort, more inconvenience. And that you've gotten to the point where you realize, I see this coming. So you try to spot that outcome and go, I know where that's going to take me. I'm not going to go down that path. I'm going to choose this joyful path. That's awesome.
Yeah.
The other thing that I know about you is that you're pretty careful about who you have in your influence circle.
Yeah.
You've put some people in your life on purpose. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. Well, as a musician and a performer, I used to not be, because your job is to have everybody like you and to people please. And so that doesn't leave a lot of room for, I don't know, as much as being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it can kind of spoil that. But after years of traveling down that road and feeling the feeling that leaves you with, and also making some really bad decisions in my life, some questionable ones, and knowing what it's felt like to be in a position in your life and in your spiritual walk, and in your emotions and your mind, and the things that get fine-tuned when you're walking with Christ, decisions are easier and they're clearer,
Mm-hmm.
and there's not so much fog. I've been in spaces where it was the opposite.
Yeah.
And I was making decisions. I've never not believed in God. I've always maintained that. But I think there was a time where I was a little bit distrusting of God, where he was taking me, and some things had happened in my life, and I felt like he didn't have good control over those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, really, after all these years, this is what's happening. This is my life. And so out of that spot, I think I started to make some selfish choices, and I just got to a point where I remember sitting there thinking, like, a series of bad choices, like, how did I get here? How did I get here? And I realized they always use that analogy where if this is where you want to go, and this is the straight line, and that's the path, well, if you just get a little bit off and you travel for a while, just a little bit off, you're going to be far, far off of your mark. I had done exactly that, really done exactly that. I was way far off my mark. Didn't know if I had the right mindset or the skill set to make good life decisions, or good friend decisions, or good, So I had to take a look at literally everything. And God used COVID in that way for me, in a way, because it took away my job for about a year and a half. It was just kind of gone. And a lot of the people that I would normally, be around with, and a relationship, and all those things were gone. It was almost like I had space to look at this and go, okay, I need to intentionally make better choices of who is around me and who's speaking into my life. And because those people affect you, what you listen to, what you ingest in your mind throughout the week. And so I started during COVID just doing these worship times over Facebook Live.
Okay.
Out of the lake house, and to start getting connected back. And I got really good feedback from some of that. And I was praying on Facebook Live, and it's stuff that people wouldn't see on my page normally.
Yeah.
And and it was it kind of led me to all this. And as things started opening up, there was a couple churches that started asking me to fill in for worship leader. A lot of churches had lost their worship leaders during that time just because, they weren't able to operate the normal way that they would operate. And so I was filling in for some people. And it's and then when I really started getting serious about, I think God's calling me to worship lead again. And there were like some, a few different churches that might be on the horizon as possibilities. And Westside was one of them. I had to really kind of one of the biggest things I looked at is like, who am I placing myself around here? Because that's the big deal in my life now. It's not the financial aspects so much. It's not the location, because I've got to drive no matter where I'm going to. I'm going to drive. So, but it was a choice of the people. And so Westside was a great choice.
I love that.
Yeah. So
feel honored about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things that when you and I have been talking, something that you said was, I seriously had to go look at who I was spending time with. And I think, you just shared about that. But you also have, I've said to you many times, you're the best tribe builder that I've ever met. Like where you just build a tribe, it's like I don't know if that's something that you decided to do at some point, you just naturally have that ability, but wherever you go, whatever you do, it's like you just naturally attract and build. And it seems like you're very intentional about it, but you build a tribe. Yeah. And so what's been very fun has been to watch how you've built a joyful tribe. Yeah. And it's not like that it's not automatic, because you've even now instituted more times with the team for development, and you do these creative karaoke nights out at your place with the team, which is so fun because the worship team gets to just go be silly, but also it's a character development, and I can kind of see how you weave that stuff in. One of the things that I wanted to make sure and touch on here was not just your vulnerability and the people that you place yourself around, but also some of the habits that you have for joy. I know you've got that habit of going, okay, stop, evaluate, look ahead, make a decision based on that. But what about are there things that you do in the day in and day out on more of a redundant schedule, or things that you say, this has to happen all the time in my life so that my joy tank stays full? Do you have anything like that you'd share with us? Yeah. I would say, as I got back into worship leading and listening to what was out there as far as new songs that I was not aware of and new artists and all that stuff, I would say almost 90% of what I listen to during the week now is worship music. And that links to my joy. I feel different after I hear truth. I hear truth sung with passion and with joy. Sometimes I listened to a Phil Wickhams listening party he just had, and you kind of hear him talk and stuff like that, and you hear kind of just his angle and where he's coming from. But I firmly believe what you ingest throughout the week is eventually going to be flowing out of you. So I'm careful about that, and I've noticed that it's a big link for me. And I do that when I'm working out. If I'm on the treadmill for 45 minutes, I'll put that in, pull up what we're doing on Sunday morning or the next couple weeks, and I'll go let me listen to those songs, get a little clearer understanding of what I'm doing. But when you hear something that's repeated to you again and again and again and again, and it's something that you already believe, it's something you're connected with, it's a reinforcement. And it links me to a joyful spot. Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's another thing you brought up before, as far as the team, building a tribe and everything. Contagiousness, joy is contagious. They feel that,
Yeah.
And I always want that to be a big thing at Westside as well. That in fact, we've got something coming up where we're working with the singers, and we might feel joy once we get up there, but there might be some certain life thing that just happened to us that might be interfering with that, or there might be an insecurity that's interfering with that, or breaking down those walls and being able to blaze a trail and saying, no, we're going to take the path of unshakable joy. Where it's just, you could throw this at me, you can throw this at me, this can happen, but I'm still going to choose joy, which is, what I did when I chose my wife too.
Yeah.
That was, God planted her like right in my life, but it was interesting because I had made a series of kind of, not the greatest choices. And we were dating and we were on a hike together, and she had a tank top on and I was behind her walking and stuff. And I looked at the tattoo on her back. It literally said, choose joy.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, of all the things you could have tattooed, choose joy? Okay, well, yeah. And she does. She regularly chooses joy.
Yeah,
and,
she does.
And it's a cool thing.
That's cool. Well, hey, thanks so much for sharing authentically from your life with us. One of the things that stands out to me is your intentionality on being who you are, but the best of who you are, and taking the risk to express those things. One of the things that stands out to me is your real insistence on who you put around you. And it makes me think, for those listening right now and watching, how important it is to choose that community.
Yeah.
And maybe you're out there and you're watching, you're listening, and you don't have a crew. Get one. We can help you. Go to our groups page at westsidecommunitychurch.com. We want to help. That's just such an important thing, right?
Yeah.
And then it's find those habits where it just brings you back to joy over and over again. You've done a great job of that, Bart.
Thank you.
Love having you on our team.
Thanks so much. I love being here. It's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Midweek Motivation. To make sure you don't miss any content in the future, please subscribe, share, and if you enjoyed this, give us a like, and consider popping by a Westside service some weekend. You can find out more at westsidecommunitychurch.com.